Fantastic. Hi, everybody, and welcome to November's Breaking the Stigma with our monthly group meeting. I'm going to give everybody a few minutes to join. And while we do, I want you to feel free to use the chat. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if you're, currently a rider, maybe you're a parent, maybe you're somebody from the industry, but we'd love to hear from you in the chat. And then we'll get started with our best practice slides in just a minute.
Can you guys see it?
Okay. Yep, I can see it. Thank you so much, Lori. Appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to briefly go over this for you. You'll want to go ahead and maybe take a screenshot of the medical disclaimer. I want to just let you know, like, the agenda. We're going to do some introductions, talk about what is mental health, share some hotline phone numbers and resources with you, and let you know about our chat to use that anytime during our conversation with Brandon tonight, and give you the topic for today, which is from crash to clarity, navigating the aftermath, which I think is such an important topic. And our guest speaker tonight is Brandon Hartranft. We're going to introduce him to you shortly. And the duration for our meeting is usually an hour. We try and end at 8, or, well, depending on your time zone, end in an hour, and be respectful of your time. And then we will open up with a Q&A towards the end. So what is mental health? So I like to describe mental health as it's just as important as your physical health, right? I think there might be a stigma about what mental health is, but when you think about it, if you broke your arm, you would be treating your arm. If you had an internal issue, you'd be seeing a doctor and taking care of your internal issue. Well, if there's something going on in your life that's preventing you to be your best version of yourself, it's getting in the way of making decisions or choices, and it has a lot to do with stress, then that's something to do with your mental health. And so different factors can weigh into that, whether they're biological factors, life experiences, family history of mental health problems as well. So the purpose of these meetings is to explore, what is that's going on, and how can our community come together to help heal from within? So here's those hotline numbers. You can take a screenshot. These resources are really helpful. So if you're finding that you do want to talk to somebody, we really recommend that these 3 sources for you. This is a safe place, a safe space. So there is no judgment here, and we really encourage everybody to be respectful of others and show politeness and kindness. So in the chat, if you haven't done so already, let us know where you're from. Are you here for yourself? Are you here for a child? And, maybe your age. And if you are wanting to talk to somebody about a one-on-one topic, you can go into the chat and ask, to be put into a breakout room, and one of us will help. So I would like to introduce myself. My name is Andrea Lieb. I'm the founder and director of On Track School, and I've been working together with Road to Recovery for the last 2 years to bring inspiring stories to our motocross community so that we can help deal with different mental health topics. I'd also like to introduce Kylie Cisneros. Kylie is also from On Track School, but she brings very professional skills from her behavioral science background. So she's been a really strong advocate for this program as well. And Kylie's going to give you a wave. And then we have Cassie. Cassie's from the medical field, and she, along with Kylie, have been helping to promote these monthly support group meetings, and is a real key person on our team. So thank you, Cassie, for joining us tonight. And then Lori's here, of course, from Road to Recovery. And Lori, thank you so much for continuing to put these together for us so that we can work to break the stigma within our communities. So tonight we have guest speaker Brandon Hartranft, and again, the topic is crash to clarity, navigating the aftermath. And Brandon, we're so grateful to have you with us today to share your story.
Mhm.
Um, your story is really important. I know sharing that to our community inspires people to know that first of all, you're okay,
Yeah.
and you're here, right? You're here right now. Everybody's been following and praying for you and for your recovery. So the fact that you're here and we can see you and see that smile on your face really means a lot. So thank you so much for doing that. We want to hear from you and we want to hear, about your story, you
Mhm.
know, whatever parts of it that you want to share with us that people that are here tonight or people that look at this later can learn that you can go from a crisis and you can find clarity in it, even though that is so hard, right? It's easy to say that in a sentence, but I'm sure that that sentence expands into just a lot of hardships that you had to go through to get to where you are. So why don't you start and give us an idea of what your story's been like?
All right. Hi everyone. My name is Brandon Harnraft. I got hurt back in November 29th, 2022. I was getting ready for the 2023 Supercross season, and I was in Fresno, California, testing with my team. And I had a bike malfunction off the face of a jump to where the rod went through the cases and the rear wheel stopped spinning off the face of a jump. And I endoed right off the bat and got ejected from my bike and landed on my head and laying on my back. And when I crashed, I was knocked out for 6 minutes. I pretty much dislocated my back and shifted into my spinal cord. I broke my ribs. I collapsed my lung. I dislocated my hip, and I broke my shoulder. So, um, in theory, I was lucky to be alive. It was pretty bad. So, spent about obviously as soon as that happened, got transported right to the hospital. They had to do immediate surgery on my back. I just remember as soon as the bike, like I have this sound in my head, this bike locking up. As soon as I'll never forget the sound of the bike locking up. And after that, it was just complete. I blacked out. It felt like for 2 weeks straight because as soon as I got transported to the hospital, I mean, I was hooked on every pain med you could possibly think of. And they actually had to wait the next day to have my back surgery. And at the time, I had a brain injury, so I had no idea what was going on. I was just laying in bed, pretty much sleeping, just on pain meds. And so got the back surgery. Everything went well. I just remember, like I said, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know I broke my back or what I did. And I remember doctors would come in, wake me up, and they'd feel my toes, and they'd be like, "Oh, can you feel your toes?" And I'm just like, at the time, I'm on pain meds, and I'm just like, "Yeah, like, what do you guys like? What are you talking about? Like, yeah, I can feel my toes." So I didn't know how severe anything was. Obviously, a few days later, started coming back to life, and we spent about 9 days in the ICU. I remember the first time I had to I think it was about 7 days where I laid in bed and could not move. They wouldn't let me move. So then one day they come in and they're like, "All right, it's time to get up." And I'm just like, "How?" So the first objective of this whole process was literally just to sit up. Like, say you're laying in bed and you just sit up. That's it. That was it. And by far one of the worst pains in my life that I can possibly remember. And then the next day was we're gonna sit up and we're gonna help you stand. And I remember the pain from the day before, and we sat up, got on the side of the bed, and I remember I told the therapist, the doctors that were all sitting right there, I said, if you guys want to make progress today, you're gonna have to pump me with something. And I remember they pumped me with fentanyl, and sure enough, I stood up with some help. So then a few days later, got transported to Casa Colina. It was either going to be a ambulance ride for 6 hours or road to recovery the whole process since I got hurt Road to Recovery has been amazing to me. They've done absolutely everything and more than we can ask. But they got me a private plane transported to Casa Clean in Pomona, California. And I remember it was either that or 6 hour ambulance ride. And I remember just getting in the ambulance for 20 minutes just to go to the airport. I was just like sitting there and I'm like, there's no way I could do this. So thank God that Road to Recovery, helped me out to get that. And so that was about a 45-minute plane ride to there. And then got transported to Costa Catalina. We spent about 3 weeks to a month there. And I mean, at the time I couldn't walk, couldn't really move, couldn't do anything, and didn't have any bowel movements, couldn't pee. And yeah, we spent 3 weeks there. It's not that fun, I could promise you that. We I remember we had to do therapy, occupational therapy, and I remember I had to go to speech there because I couldn't talk well because from hitting my head. That was on repeat for about 5 days, and then the weekends, we had we had off. And then my wife at the time, she couldn't stay in the hospital with me, which I wish she could have, but obviously, I mean, in a way, I wish she could have, but then I was glad she got away from it every night. So, I remember one day, the nurses, I had to pee, like I couldn't pee. So I had to stick a catheter in me because in the process of this, I couldn't pee. So you normally don't want your catheter in for 6 days at a time. And that's what was happening at first. So we were in and out with the catheter. And I remember the one time these nurses, they wouldn't arrive because I had to pee so bad. And Mike from Road to Recovery was right there. And he actually brought me catheter bags. So I was sitting there talking to Mike, and I'm like holding it in, thinking Mike's gonna leave earlier than he did. And I'm like, all right, Mike, I have to go pee. Like, I'm sorry. So no, the nurses came in, and I'm like, Madison, my wife, like, you're hopping in, like you're doing this. And yeah, she I kind of like taught her to be a nurse a little bit. She did the catheter, and they're on for like another 3 weeks. She was my cath lady. And then I remember when I had first started having some bowel movements, I couldn't move, couldn't twist, do nothing, and she was wiping my butt. She was showering me. Like, I almost taught my wife how to be a nurse, being in the hospital and everything. And after that, got out of Casa Clina, and then I lived in California at the time, and with all my injuries, I had like 5 or 6 other injuries besides my back. So we were in California, we weren't getting the help that we needed. And I'm from New Jersey, and there's some great doctors that, I grew up with all my life from getting hurt from motocross. So the plan was, we lived in California 4 years, and we left on some bad terms. I had to move back home to New Jersey. My parents did an amazing job. Wouldn't be where I am right now and healthy as I am if it wasn't for them. But so they moved me back to New Jersey. That was, I mean, it was like miserable. It was sad. I was in pain. I remember I bought a first class flight because I couldn't sit in economy because of my back. I remember I got a bed, and I remember I was popping oxys to get the pain away. And yeah, the first 2 months I was on a lot of pain meds, which was bad. And then so we get home, had my shoulder repaired. My shoulder was absolutely one of the worst. It was so gnarly, my shoulder. So I displaced my glenoid, and I broke my scapula, and my scapula was growing for 7 weeks incorrect with my glenoid being displaced. And so we had to move back home to Jersey, and I had surgery, I think, on my shoulder like January 26th, and we literally flew like January 21st. So I was right back into surgery, and this shoulder surgery was by far, I think, the second worst pain I've ever had besides my back. And I just remember, even in rehab, I was trying to get off pain meds, and I remember I was having reactions and freaking out in bed and coming off the pain meds. So I had the shoulder surgery in Jersey, and then all of it started sinking in, move away from, like, it felt like home, California. My friends were starting to be my family. I had a bunch of because I just got married right before I got hurt, and a lot of my groomsmen lived in California. So everything's like a fog at this moment. And then everything started kind of clearing up and I understanding what is going on. Like my career's done. I move away from all my friends that felt like family. Don't know what I'm gonna do the rest of my life. Don't know what's in front of me. And then I started crying a lot, freaking out. I remember I was crying. We woke up one day and I was on a Saturday and I just started bawling my eyes out. And yeah, I asked my parents, like, I need help. And it's sad. I'm sad to think about. But yeah, so I got help. And then because I was going down a bad path mentally. So started going to like counseling for my brain, which helped tremendously. And then about a month later, I had another surgery on my arm for nerve damage. And then since the last surgery, we've been good on surgeries, but I have all these other nerve problems in my torso, my feet, my legs, my hamstrings, my arms. And I mean, nothing that like like I've been cycling lately. I've been walking a lot, like nothing that like I don't struggle to walk or anything. But yeah, it was the first 3 to 4 months was insane. But so then as soon as I got my shoulders, I know I'm like going back and forth because I have so much in my head. But we started
It's
going to
okay.
therapy around like February, end of February. And if I didn't move to Jersey and the therapist I had, and you know, like when you have injuries like this, you need to get taken care of, and it's you need to get taken care of so well. Like people don't understand, like therapy is so important. Yes, it sucks. Like I was going to therapy 3 times a week for 3 hours at a time, working on 4 different things, and I mean, I'm thankful that I'm not paralyzed. Obviously, like it's a truly a blessing. Like I got told millions of times by doctors, you're a miracle walking. And I didn't understand it at first. Now there's some people with less injuries on their back and they're paralyzed. And so I'm super lucky, but going to therapy 3 times a week for 3 hours at a time, doing that consistently for like 4 to 5 months straight. And at the time, yes, it sucks like to deal with this every day, the pain. And I remember every day, you know, like to get my clothes off the ground, it'd be the worst pain all day would be waking up to get my clothes off the ground. And I put in a lot of hard work, a lot of mental strength had to come through this because if I wasn't mentally tough through this and I had an amazing family and an amazing wife, I'd be way worse for sure. But yeah, I just put in a lot of hard work and you know, I don't know where my back's going to end up in, you know, 20 years from now. I know like in the future and right now I still struggle every day with pain and the rest of my life I'm going to struggle with pain. But I'm trying the best that I can to, you know, make my body heal, go to the chiropractor, do therapy. So then in the process of this, we've been buying a house or trying to buy a house in Florida. And it's just crazy. Like the time from November 29th, I'm literally like, look like I'm dead on the bed. Bought myself my first house this year and then start a new business. Like you don't know once one door closes, another one opens. And I know that sounds cliche or, you know, it doesn't sound right, but it literally is the truth. And my door completely folded on me. And it's almost been a year since I got hurt. And I literally just started a business with one of my best friends and one of the best dudes in our sport. So if you get hurt, for whoever's listening, just always realize that it could be a lot worse. And for me, like I could have been paralyzed. Like I get it. I dealt with numerous of things, but I was thankful in a way that like I could have been way worse. So we spent 9 to 10 months with my family. And I haven't done that since I was probably like 12 to 13 years old. And that was, you know, like I said, at first it was miserable, but then I spent almost a year with my family that I haven't done since I was a kid. So it was like little blessings in disguises. And bought my first house. We moved to Florida, started the business, and I mean, still going to therapy and kind of giving myself a little regimen every day with working out. And yeah, if you don't keep your brain moving and going every day, that's when you start going down the wrong rabbit hole. So um yeah, I could keep going on and on, but yeah.
Well, I appreciate your story, and I know that's a lot to talk through, but it really gives us an idea of what you've gone through in a whole year. And I just have to say, I'm glad that you broke down, and I'm glad that you put your hand up to your family to say, okay, I need help. And I think that's the hardest thing to do sometimes. And my gosh, you've been through a lot with the pain meds and moving and all the compounded injuries that you had and leaving your friends behind and then moving in with your family again, right? And that's a lot. Let's just take a minute and realize that's a lot that you went
Yeah,
through.
it was I've always remembered trying to get off the pain meds. And I remember I would be laying in bed, and I couldn't even lay in bed. I was laying on a recliner, and I'd start shaking, and I couldn't do nothing about it. It felt like literally a demon was trying to get out of me. And um yeah, it was crazy. But I just remember in the hospital, in rehab, I was starting to try to get off these pain meds, and I'd start completely just start shaking and then freaking out, call the nurse, and then got off pain meds. And I was kind of taking Tylenol, which at the time I was told take Tylenol because don't take Advil because of my spine. And as soon as I went home, I had this surgery, and they went through my rotator cuff muscle. So they cut my rotator cuff muscle in half, went through it, pretty much re-broke the scapula,
Mm.
fix that, and then come back out and sew my rotator cuff muscle. Because I had like 5 to 6 doctors that were turning me down because they're so scared because of nerves. So, but I remember the doctor was like, I want you to stay in a hospital like one night. And I'm just like, dude, no, like, I don't want to be in the hospital anymore. And sorry, my wife just got home from work. I'm sorry. But I remember getting home, or he said, stay the night. I'm like, no, I'm tired of this. I don't want to be in the hospital anymore. And they gave me a nerve block. And obviously I couldn't feel my arm. It's numb, no pain at the time. And I remember the nerve block wore off, and the amount of pain that I was dealing with my shoulder was by far one of the worst pains. I remember I took 8 oxys to just relax the pain, which is really bad, but it was terrible. And then like I said, I was back on oxys. Took those for about a month. Coming off, I was starting to shake again. And then the next surgery, the my for my ulnar nerve, I didn't even take a pain med. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So
Mm.
pain meds are not good. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's tough. It's like a necessary evil at the time, and then you've got to pay for it on the other end. It's difficult.
It's like
Um,
pain meds, they trick your brain into false things to where you're in pain when you're not. And yeah,
mm,
that's why, like, when I was getting off, I was having side effects. And at the time I was getting in the hospital, like, I was getting the most gnarliest stuff. Like, I took fentanyl to move. Like, that's not normal. So people are watching. you know I get it. If you have surgery, take Vicodin the first night or two, and then get yourself off of them. And my dad was always kind of a drill sergeant with that, and now I kind of understood why. And I could see if you get hooked to it, it's for sure tough to get off, because, like I said, your body starts giving you false things and you think it's happening when it's not.
right. Well, and it sounds like you had a really amazing support system.
Yeah, I seriously, my mom and dad, when it came down to be a parent, they stepped up and went above. So I, like, honestly, like, the first, I mean, the whole process, literally, I didn't even have to do anything. I just had to show up. Like, my mom was a wizard with this stuff. And she had, like, I have this binder that is like this huge, like, it's massive. And she has it like filed to the T of every date leading till, like, nowadays. So they just, they did their part. And like I said, I wouldn't be as healthy as I am right now, and wouldn't have a house without them. So they honestly did an amazing job for myself and my wife.
Well, that's fantastic. I'm so glad that you have them and that you went back home to New Jersey. That's where I'm from too.
Yeah,
So,
that's it's crazy how like, so you're from Jersey, and then I just moved here, so I started going to a new chiropractor which is connected to therapy.
mm,
And this lady is literally she's from Jersey, and literally the next town over from where I'm from. So I'm just like, how is this even happen? So I literally, like, she told me, she's like, "You're from Jersey, right?" And I said, "Yeah." I'm like, she's like, "I am too." I said, "Where are you from?" She's like, Howell Township." And I'm like, "Okay, well, my dad works in Howell." And I'm just like, what in the world? So actually, another backstory. So in the process of this all, I was struggling, kind of having a purpose every day, and still doing therapy, whatever, all the things I had to do. And my dad works at, it's called Howell Township Public Works, and he's a foreman. So I wanted to do something and make myself a little extra money, and I got hired, like had to do an interview and everything, and got hired to do this part-time job at Public Works, cleaning communities, just to give myself literally a purpose, a little bit of the real world. I had to clock in every morning around 6 a.m. to, we work from 6 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. for 4 days a week. And yeah, to give yourself a purpose helps so much. And for me to do that helped me tremendously. And so like all that happened. I worked for probably about 4 months, clocking in and clocking out. Like, it was cool. I thought it was cool. I would go to town hall, this massive place. I'd scan my card, something I never experienced in my life. And after that, we moved to Florida. And like I said, the band, like when I was saying earlier, there's a band-aid on everything, kind of covering what has happened. Because I was always with family, friends. They kept me occupied and kind of confident and at ease. So as soon as we moved here, started struggling again, because no family, just me and my wife, and started back to crying. Like, I was freaking out, and thinking life was over, and being away from my family, like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? What am I doing? Like, they just went above and beyond for me. Like, what, just all these scenarios going through my head. Started making things up in my head with my relationship, and just things, you don't want to experience. And kind of found myself a routine of working out every day for, well, about 6 days a week. And also we started this business. So like, now I'm occupied taking care of people and trying to make them better. Found myself a routine. And for people that are struggling mentally, you have to find yourself a purpose, no matter what it is. Doesn't matter if you're mowing the lawn. Like, I actually enjoy mowing the lawn because it gives me a purpose to make my lawn look good. Like cleaning the house. So whatever it is, you got to find something to keep your brain going. And for me, like, I'm not racing anymore, so I'm not as tired. So like days off, like I don't even want days off of doing stuff, and just being around good people, your friends, your family, like, and even if you aren't hurt or whatever, like if I didn't go through this, you still, if you're like didn't get hurt at all, you still need to find yourself a purpose. Doesn't matter if you got hurt or not. Like, you have to feel like you have a reason to be, here. And there is a reason why you're here. But just to keep your brain at ease, because the world's a little crazy right now, but it'll eventually come
mhm.
around. But you just got to keep working hard, and that's what I did. And like, I cycled yesterday and did 31 miles. Like, a year ago I wouldn't be able to do that, but I worked my ass off and went through all the pains, the suffering. And like, this stuff, like for instance, like, that's not going to last forever. The pain, like what I was dealing with in January and February, like, that's temporarily, that's not forever. And I
Mm,
remember working hard is such a big, huge thing. Cause I remember when I was in therapy, and, like moto guys, we're gnarly in our brains. We're mentally strong, and the pain volume is for sure lower than the average person. And when I went to therapy, like real therapy, not when I was in the hospital, I showed up, whatever. They were like, you have so many injuries, this and that. So I'm like, okay. So we start. and I started making progress so quick, and they were just like confused. And I kind of, told them what I did, and they're just like, yeah, you guys are stronger than any other, like mentally stronger, and kind of can deal with pain more than any other athlete we've ever worked with. And it's just different. So, work hard. You have to stay positive. That's number one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Your mental strength is very impressive. And I'm excited for the people that, get to watch this and are here today to hear that from you, because that's incredible, what you've been through. I love the fact that um you went and you got yourself a job to
Yeah.
give yourself, a sense of purpose. I don't think that, many people would have gone and taken that step. But you're right. I mean, one of the most important thing is a sense of belonging, you know.
Mm.
That's one of the top 6 things, that we need to have. And the fact that you did that is awesome. So tell us about your new business. Tell us about the clarity at the end,
All
where
right.
you are right now, because that's crazy.
So,
Everything you've been through. But I'm sorry, Cassie has a question first
are you
before we
good?
get down that road. Go ahead.
Is that what that thing meant? This hand thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
light
was
hand.
like, what?
Hey Brandon. So if this is too deep of a question, please don't feel like you have to answer it. But as far as you being kind enough to share that you went to counseling and that was something that was helpful for you, did you find that it was the ability to kind of unload what you're going through was helpful to you, or did you find that that person that you went to was able to give you like coping mechanisms or guidance, or what piece of that counseling do you feel like helped you kind of overcome what you were feeling at that time, if you don't mind answering?
For me, it was more so to get everything off my chest. Obviously wasn't dealing with any like, I mean, I had some bad thoughts going through my head at first, especially when I first got hurt. But for me, after all the surgeries, I went to counseling, and for me, it was just to get all of this off my chest. And I didn't say this, but obviously, the reason there's a whole story why the bike malfunctioned, but I can't, whatever. But I for me, it was just like to get everything off my chest. And what was cool is like I could say whatever and wasn't gonna get out, and could speak literally everything you need to get out about your family, your relationship, your brother, your sister. Talk about your dog if you want. Like you could say whatever you need to make your mind at peace. And she would for sure give me some tips what to help me with. And um, like I said, I was struggling with thinking stuff was happening when it wasn't, and she would, redirect me. And I was going, I think, around once a week. But I went there for about 2 months straight. And yeah, I would recommend, you know, for sure anybody that's struggling with anything, go to counseling. I mean, I get it, it's scary, but it's not that hard to. This person is like your best friend, and you can trust them with all your heart. That's their job, is to help you with whatever you're struggling with. So for me, it helped a lot. So like I said, I would recommend it if you're struggling with any injuries, whatever, family, or somebody passing away. Like if you're struggling deeply, go to counseling.
Thank you so much for answering that. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So Brandon, tell us a little bit about your new business.
So me and Cooper got together back in April, and he's been helping me for years, and one of my very close friends, even his wife, they have helped me through this whole process a little bit. And we were on the golf course, and we were talking, and I said, like, dude, I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life. And he kind of came up with this idea. We both kind of came up with the idea, and he started talking about online training. And as soon as he told me, kind of like the light bulb went off in my head. And and we were staying at his house watching his dogs while he actually went and raced Atlanta. So we played golf. Well, I didn't play. I was just on the golf cart. And he left, I think, Thursday. So we watched the dogs, over hung out, and through the whole weekend, I'm talking to my wife, like, this could be something that could be great. So as soon as he told me, kind of just went gun ho at it. And I went to Christina Denny from Roost MX. She was one of my old team managers, and I clicked so well with her husband, her family. And I kind of brought up this idea to her because I need to start from, I'm literally at zero here. I don't know how to make a website. I don't know how to make a logo. I don't know how to do any of this. And somehow so it was Atlanta, and we stayed all the way till the middle of the week. And then the next week was at MedLife, which is close to where I was living at the time. And Christina and her husband wanted us to get dinner. So kind of everything started like filing into place correctly. So we went to dinner, told her our idea, and she like jumped on it. She's like, I'll help you, whatever you need. So she took the reins of it and did everything for me. And she still helps me. Like our business is the reason why it's looks solid, and everything is because of her and her husband. So that took about 3 to 4 months to make everything pretty, spot on. And we released it about a month and a week ago, and it's called Alpha Motocross Dynamics. We're an online training business for every aspect of training, riding, and we're only for motocross. But there's 3 programs you can choose from. I mean, the whole objective here is to train you and treat you to try to make you a professional athlete like me and Cooper were, and he's still racing. So this is what my job's going to be, hopefully for the rest of my life. And Cooper will be in more of it when he's done racing in a few years, but he's kind of more behind the scenes because he's got a job to do. He's got to win some championships, or Cooper Webb's one of the top dogs, so he's got a lot on his plate. So once he's done racing, he's going to step in with me, be right by my side. He is right by my side right now. He's just kind of silent. So yeah, I mean, that's my plan. That's my life. And that's what I'm going to do, is do the best I can for whoever signs up.
I think that's awesome. Christina Denny is amazing. And that's an example of how our community comes together. I think in the thick of it, our community does really come together and support each other. So I'm so glad that you had that connection with her. She's amazing. That's great. And I
Yeah.
think what a great sense of purpose you have now,
Yeah.
to continue in a sport that you love and give back. So thanks for
It's
sharing that.
crazy. Been riding since I was 3. Don't know anything else. Like I told you, I got a part-time job and didn't know anything about that. Like I had to learn everything. And my purpose since I was 3 years old was to get better racing. Always try to get better, get better, get better. You do good, that's still not good enough. It's always been, and then eventually you start getting good, and then you got to get in this little bubble where you can't let anybody in, because people are there's a lot of people that will use you, and you see that, and then you get in this little bubble. You don't really talk to many people. And the last few years of being pro, I haven't really had to communicate with people and deal with people. So then this new job is complete opposite of that. And I kind of told myself, like, this is what you want to do. You're going to have to man up and grow up. And now, instead of worrying about myself, I have to worry about these kids or these grown men or whoever signs up. So it's crazy, like I said, what a year can do. And if you have the right mindset, you can accomplish things that you will never even thought you would have ever done. But now I'm these guys as coaches and directing these kids to be better athletes. Like, it's crazy. Never thought I'd ever be in this position. And it's kind of a good feeling. I feel like like I said, this year has taught me to grow up. But now doing this business, I feel like a man now, because like I have to take care of these kids or whoever signs up,
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see the things that you do, because I know that the doors are going to continue to open up for you. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, we'll
I'm
see.
excited.
We'll see. So far for starting, I think we're doing pretty solid. And I think eventually I'll be going to the races and everything, kind of getting back in the mix. And we just signed well, not I didn't sign, but this kid signed up. His name's Luke Fowler. He's one of the top prospects of the sport of amateurs, and he's at that era where he needs to crack down, and you know, some good stuff can go his way if he does well. So we went to the track the other day, and I kind of got in his butt and, you know, like told him what I want you to do. I need you to put maximum effort, and if you want to succeed, you're going to have to put yourself out there. And, you know, he went out there, rode, did what I told him, and to watch him make progress was like one of the best feelings ever. And I just started. So like, I'm excited to see these kids progress and grown men or whatever it is. And yeah, it's crazy what a year can do. I'm a business owner now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it is amazing what a year can do and what an experience can do, like the one that you had.
Yeah.
I think we should go ahead and open this up to some questions from, you know, people that have joined us here today. So I see that Caden has a question. Caden, would you like me to read that for you?
I think he said he went to bed or
Uh,
something.
There he is. No, he's
Okay.
I think you've got a cast on your arm, huh, Caden?
He's from our area, Jersey.
Yeah, Jersey, another Jersey one. Ooh, we're winning. Caden says, before your bad accident, have you ever got in a moto crash before and rode different after?
No, heck, I've before I got hurt, I tore both my ACLs, had them repaired. I mean, I've been knocked out a few times, had my labrum repaired, had ankle surgery. I actually had ankle surgery about like 3 months before I broke my back. And no, I mean, we're crazy people. That's why we race dirt bikes. No, I've never. As soon as I got hurt, it was kind of always when can I get back racing? And I've never had that problem. If you love this sport, and as a kid that you are, you're gonna want to get back as soon as you possibly can. And I saw you broke your arm like 2 days ago, and I know that's a bummer. But like I said before, one door closes, another one opens for you. And you know, this injury could be a blessing in disguise. So you'll be back before you know
Thank you.
it.
Thank you, Caden, for asking that question. And I hope you heal up fast and smooth. And thanks for joining us. There's a smile. Anybody else have any questions for Brandon?
No.
Well, I'm also a moto mom. My son Michael Lieb raced for a really long time, and unfortunately, I think had a very thick medical file at Dr. Alexander's. I think it's the thickest he said it was. So that's not proud of,
That's not a
but
good thing. I bet you that's got you some sleepless nights.
yeah, it definitely did. But like you said, always a racer, and you know, we would say, "Are you sure you want to continue to do this?" And it becomes your identity, right? And
Yeah,
so
it's insane. You're literally your identity. You don't know anything else. I mean, I know Michael's career, and I know who he is. Obviously he's a good racer, did well for himself. Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, it's for me, like stuff got ripped away and it wasn't even my fault. So you kind of a lost
yeah,
puppy out in the real world, you know?
yes, totally. Yeah, when something like that happens and it's pulled out from under you, it's really difficult. But I'm really glad that you are continuing to find your identity.
Trying.
Very important.
I have a question for you. So I know just looking at some of the kids that are in here, I know specifically some of them that train with my son. And so I know there's some kids here that could use this advice. You know, you mentioned how, you know, you couldn't have recovered the way that you did without that mental toughness and being, you know, strong mentally. But that's a skill that is acquired, you know, and some people have it. Some people are blessed with that mental toughness and some really have to develop. Do you feel like there's something that you ever did earlier in your career or as a kid training to really put that emphasis on being strong mentally to get you to that point? So when you needed it, you had it?
Yeah. I spent a lot of races with me and my father and myself. We went to, I started getting good as a kid, probably around like 85 days, and started seeing potential. So we started expanding and started believing, wow, I'm actually like pretty good now. But as a father, and my dad was, I'm not a father, but as my father, my dad was pretty, he was pretty tough on me at times and said certain things that I grasped in my head that I took personal, and I would use that as motivation. Certain things, especially some people talking crap, saying I'll never be nothing, or I'll never get a podium at Loretta's, and then a few years later I won Loretta's. So it's like you use these little things that really get to you and use that as motivation when you're riding, when you're training. It's sad. It's not sad, but it's bad, but you use that as motivation. Especially proving people wrong is one of the best feelings you could possibly do. And definitely my dad used some words where I'll never forget, but it turned me to the man I am today and the success I had. So and we didn't have it, easy racing training. Like, we lived in Jersey, like it's freezing there in the winter, and we'd be riding sand pits, and our odds against these other kids I was racing, my odds were way lower. But I always used these certain things my dad said to me, and he would he'd repeatedly say it to me if I didn't do good or whatever. But I always grasped that and used that as motivation. I still do, to be honest. And yeah, it's just certain things that trigger you. Take that in and use it for motivation, and prove whoever it is wrong.
I love that. Thank you. That's great
You're
advice.
welcome.
Great question, Kylie, and that's really great advice. Brandon, thinking about you going back to the track, do you have any concern about, whether that triggers any post-injury stress for you? I
Yes,
imagine
100%. I deal with this every race, watching a race. And even like I went to this track with this kid, Luke, and just certain things pop in my head. And it's kind of like telling myself false things that might happen when it's not going to happen. But yes, certain things, watching people hit certain jumps on TV, like when they hit Larocco's Leap, I go instantly back to my bike locking up, and it's like PTSD almost. I can't help that. It's just such a tragic moment that I'll never forget that sound of the bike locking up, and it freaks me out because you don't know when a motor is going to blow up. Doesn't matter if that motor has ran beautiful for, like, you go in motor rotations, but sometimes you get bad parts, and wrong place, wrong time. So, yes, going to the track definitely brings back some not good memories, but also some great memories. And so when I went to the track, I've been away from the track for almost a year now. And when I went the other day, like, it was a good feeling though. Like, a lot of my memory and everything of racing and training came back watching this kid progress. And the few things I've told him, like, it felt so good to honestly watch somebody progress from me telling them to do something. But yes, definitely brings back some very bad memories, but very good memories.
I imagine that you'll start a whole new toolbox of things to motivate you through that period with your mental toughness that you've developed, right?
Yeah. Kind of already. I mean, like the first day I worked with Luke, he literally went out there and, like, he's at this moto sandbox, and for his skill level, like, it's kind of sketchy what they do. They send slowest to fastest out there, and he's catching kids left and right. And as soon as he goes out there, he collides with this kid and is down. The other kid's fine. And I'm just like, oh my God, first day here, kid's hurt. Whatever, got up, and he was fine. But it's just, obviously, ever since I've gotten hurt watching races, I'm a little bit more stressed. But I think as I go, they'll go away. And that's same with injuries, like, at first you're stressed. When you first get back riding, you don't trust what you hurt. You leading to literally, if you're gonna ride a month, if you put a date down, you're gonna ride, it's a month away. You have that in your head, your injury you're dealing with, and no matter what, you're gonna be nervous going. And soon as you start trusting everything, trusting your process, and you trust your injury, it's strong. You did all your work you can possibly do to make it better. And the more you ride, eventually it's one ear out the other, you know?
Yeah, well, those young kids that you're going to work with and those grown men that you're going to work with, I think are going to learn so many important lessons from you. So I'm
Yeah.
excited. Yeah, Fran. Well, very cool.
Well, yeah, I want to say thank you guys for having me on here. It's kind of it's a good feeling talking about this stuff. I could even talk more in depth about other stuff, but it's all right.
Well, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing your story, and we'll be cheering you on into your next chapter. So thank you so much.
I
We
appreciate it. Thank you
appreciate it.
guys, and yeah, good luck on everything, your everyday life, everyone here, and you know, be mentally tough. Can get you far.
Right. Thank you, Brandon. Take care.
Take
Hope
care,
to-
guys. Thank you again.